Hi, so I'm here with Jamie from Tigercub. How's it going?
Not too bad. It's a sunny day, and I'm on my fifth coffee.
Oh,
So,
nice. I'm on zero coffee so far, so
whoa,
yeah, I know. I don't know how I'm actually surviving at the moment, but we'll
me
get
neither.
through this.
Yeah, yeah, we will, man.
Yeah,
Just like Daniel Bedingfield said.
he did. He did.
Yeah.
So the new album, The Perfume of Decay, is released on the 2nd of June. What can you tell us about it?
It's our third record, um, and I think it's it's the best of the first two records. I think it completes, you know, the rock bangers that we got on there. In my opinion, are the best rock bangers that we've got. The weird album transitional moments that we've got on there, I think are like the most realized versions of those ideas, and the more sensitive acoustic or piano based moments, I think are just they're just much more mature, complete versions of ideas that we set out in the first two records. So I think this really just like rounds off nicely this like era of Tigercub. I mean, I'll also say it's by far our heaviest, almost close to metal at times.
Mm.
Um, and it's like it's a dark gothic, you know, it's like the contrast to our second record, which was all about color and big, bright, bold primary colors and like the subjectivity of like how we perceive color and how that's different for everyone and how that can relate back to depression, anxiety, different things like that. Whereas the perfume of decay is it's a contrast to that. It's monochrome. It's 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 like limited color palette. It's dark gothic Halloween, and I think it like offers like a lot more optimism, and like resolve. So it's not just like a drudge of like let's all just be sad together. I
Mm.
think it offers a little bit more than that.
Yeah, because that's what I thought. Like listening to it, like it sounded a lot more like kind of grown up and mature and like a bit more dark and broody and
I'm glad you think so.
yeah,
Yeah.
and obviously as well, it's like such a evocative title and it's reflective of the whole album. Like, when did the name come into the equation?
So I was at the cinema watching a film called Memoria that came out a while back with Tilda Swinton, and it's like this story about like she keeps hearing this like banging sound that no one else can hear, and she's just trying to figure out using like sound engineers and um you know just like therapists and stuff like what's going on in her own head. And it's just like this it's a quite a dense film. It's quite hard to really follow, to be honest with you. I really enjoyed it. I like that film. But there's one moment in that film where um the line "the perfume of decay" is mentioned, and like whenever I'm out, I'm always like writing down and like text edit and on my phone and like recording voice notes. And like if I overhear any conversations from people in public or anything like that, hear little words, little turns of phrase, which could be like a really useful springboard for like songs, song titles, anything creative in my life. I've just got this like massive archive of just like absolute bonkers, nonsensical, like voice notes and memos and stuff. Jesus. And then as soon as I heard the perfume of decay, I was just like, wow. And I wrote that down. And like for me, it's like it's such a great phrase album title because it's like oxymoronic and like it it just really summed up for me like how I was feeling in my life at that time. I'm not I'm in my 30s now. I'm getting older, and there's a lot of stuff that's scary about that. But also, as I'm getting older, I'm able to deal with my own problems a bit better. And there's a lot of plus sides and upsides and a lot of joy in getting older, which I'm trying to express on this record. And like I think the perfume of decay is it just fits that. And also, I love like goth bands and like old post punk stuff. So like I really wanted to do something that was a little bit like gothic and has that aesthetic, because it's just always been something that I've loved personally, and I wanted to get closer to that. And I thought the Perfume of Decay gets us way closer to that vision.
Yeah. So like was it like quite far into the recording process that you're like, yeah, that's the album title, or was it like quite early on?
It was early on, and it was the same with As Blue as Indigo. I think I had the title for As Blue as Indigo for like 2 years before we even tracked the record. Um, I guess I tend to do that. Like in, I'm writing the next record now, um, and you just start to build this picture of what you think the album's going to be. And there's so many interesting things that go into making a record, in my opinion. There's so many ideas that have to fit perfectly in like a Venn diagram. You've got your album in the middle of the Venn diagram, and then you've got all of these different ideas, and they all have to cross over and fit together really nicely, like a jigsaw piece. So, like, if you're gonna go down a certain like aesthetic route, you also have to create a music video and posters and press shots and like all of this ancillary um stuff that has to like expand the themes of the record. So like when you do hit on an idea like the Perfume of Decay, it's so great because immediately it's just like, oh well, we can do like perfume bottles, and that can be like a promo item, and
Hmm.
we can make our own perfume. Do you know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
it all totally fits together. And all right, so like monochrome aesthetic, goth, like that's a really fun thing to like for want of a better phrase, market. I can't think of a better one than market, because it's a bit cynical. That this is like creative, artistic stuff we're talking about, but sometimes shorthand like marketing to people is just the words that you need to use. But yeah, so I tend to build all of that stuff out. Sometimes even before I'm writing the songs, and then you can just, with that organization and with that like trajectory that you're on, you can just have a little bit more. You can just dial in the concepts and the themes and stuff in the songs, and then eventually into the recording process as you go. I think when you set out like your fucking manifesto for the record, like 2 years before you make the thing, you just hone that,
Hmm.
rather than, I mean, I haven't really done it the other way, so maybe the other way is totally fine, to just make a record and then you know uncover it afterwards what it means. That's totally valid as well.
Hmm.
But my method at the minute tends to lean towards the former. Did that? Am I making sense?
Yeah, yeah. To me, totally makes sense. In that process of it. You've also got like some really interesting and fascinating production techniques, like with regards to recording this album. Like, where did the idea come from to cover James in chains for all his drumming?
um, well, yeah. First and foremost, I mean, this record, I produced it, so it's the first one we've done without like a carer in the room to like rein us in and make sure we're not doing anything too stupid. But yeah, so like we were talking in the control room about like just wanting to have just like hard industrial noises as like little bits of ear candy that you can sprinkle around the record and have maybe at the start of a track, maybe just like for the last 5 seconds of another track. You could just have these little sonic moments that
Mhm.
just make the record feel more like a 40-minute piece of music rather than separate individual tracks. um so we were talking about that a little bit. um because on the first record we used like wind chimes and stuff, and like we did a couple of things with like radio static and just like picking up fucking like French AM radio off the channel, and just piping that onto the record. Just so it like creates this like sonic fingerprint of the album. So we were talking about that, and Giles was like, "Oh well, why don't I go down to B&Q and get some like like massive chains and we can drop them on the floor, and mic that up and maybe put them through like reverb or echo, some kind of ambience, and that'd give kind of cool, um, that'd give like a cool like aesthetic." I know Joy Division do all of that stuff. There's that film 24 Hour Party People. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a little bit old now, but there's just a really funny scene where they set the drummer up on the roof, um, and like just leave him there for like 4 hours just doing the drum beat for ages. But just like really weird experimental things like that just give this like cool industrial cold like gothic aesthetic. I guess we wanted to like kind of follow into that that vibe. So Giles comes back with the chains and we're like sick. And then we're just talking in the control room, and I think this was Jalex's idea actually. He was like, "Oh, we could wear them." So I always like, even if you rustle paper or something like that and put it on a mic and then just put that in the background, or like like vinyl crackle and stuff like that. That's a very, very interesting thing to put into a track, so that when you take away that element, it gives the listener the impression that something's changed without you necessarily having to do anything crazy in the arrangement, to give the feeling of that change. So I always fucking love shit like that. So we were like, wear the chains when you're drumming, and it'll just give whatever you're doing this just texture, added texture that's going to soak into all the other mics, and it'll just become a little bit, again, like I say, like just a little bit of a sonic fingerprint of the album. And he did it. I think it sounds great, and yeah, we used like a beer keg because we love Slipknot. We just thought that's
get that clown in there.
Exactly, man. Just a nice little homage, and yeah, it's just a hard metallic sound, which I really like. It just adds this like really aggressive vibe to the record. And as well, like I collect like tape machines and stuff whenever I can, and if I'm ever at a car boot sale or anything like that and I see a dictaphone, I will always try and buy it, because it's like this little message in a bottle. It's like you buy it and it's this, especially secondhand, it has to be secondhand, because it's this old record of someone's fucking memories, on top of it being like a really useful device to distort things in the studio and get cheap tape saturation. There's also just there's just weird stories of people's lives, these weird snapshots of people's lives who've owned them before, because often they don't wipe the tape after they've recorded onto it, and it's just ended up in in a box in a car boot cell. So I end up with this dictaphone, this Philips one, and it just has this it has family memories on it. It has a 4-year-old child saying their first words, and all of these, playing in the garden, and all these things that this family's trying to capture. But because this recording is like 20, 30 years old, the tape has degraded and it's become really warbly, and time has just it's decayed and rotted away the sound and the fidelity of the signal. So what you're actually left with is this fucking terrifying artifact. It doesn't really represent what it was in the first place anymore. It's just this weird, warbly, ghoulish, ghostly thing. And so, I really like that. So I was like sneaking bits of that in the record, just to give this like unsettling vibe every now and again when you need it. It's not like audible enough to hear it unless you're told it's there to go and listen to it. And on top of that, I did things like I would record really, really quiet bits. I would just record myself on the dictaphone singing and playing, and then we'd put that back into Pro Tools and pop that in this little bit. So you get this like super downgraded, super lo-fi section amidst like extreme high fidelity recorded music, which for me is like a really cool contrast, like jumping from those modes of just like distorted and downgrading things, then with like super clear, like precise, audio representation. So there's loads of stuff like that, man. It was really fun. And I think through doing like having side projects and stuff in the past, and just making loads of mistakes and just sort of fumbling out songs that are way too distorted and haven't been EQ'd properly and sound kind of like a sack of shit, but that's still translating, and just that in itself is an acceptable like aesthetic to have. I just felt like way more empowered to just carry on that spirit into the Tigercub record. So there weren't any rules, and we were just very free, just running like the drums through a fucking fuzz pedal and like just doing everything, I put a microphone in a piano and in the guts of a piano and used it as like a resonator for the drums, and you just get this weird harmonic, just adding, excuse me, that's just my phone switched off there. Adding like chance encounter into the mix, I think, was like what I was always striving to do, and yeah, it was really funny. I think I was arguing with KSI's engineer or something at the time. I think he was in the studio next to us, and he kept walking through the hall that we were using to record drums with. So we just got like sound of him opening a door and his footsteps, like him creeping past the fucking mic whilst there's a live drum take happening. It's just like, bro, what are you doing?
So how does Stone Gossard come across you guys? And at what point is there the conversation about you guys releasing this album on his label?
So the second album is Blues Indigo. That comes out on my record label, Blame, in 2021. And my record label, Blame, is a part of the Orchard Group, which are a distribution company and label in their own right, like a label services company.
Yeah.
Loose Groove are a part of that family as well in the US. And I believe what happens is, there'll be like an internal memo sent out or like a newsletter with just like, here's what's happening this month, whatever, different milestones. And I think when we charted in the UK or something, maybe that got sent out on a like newsletter thing. And it just got to, I believe, Billie Jean, who is not my lover. She is she's like the head like label manager at Loose Groove, and she passed it on to Stone and Reagan, and they really fell in love with As Blue as Indigo and were just really emphatic about working with Tigercub. And I think originally they actually wanted to buy out As Blue as Indigo from Blame, which we were totally open to and stuff, but it's just that's quite a complicated process, so we couldn't end up like really making that properly happen. Who's to say whether that'll happen in the future or not? But yeah, so they wanted in, and we said yes, as you would, just bit their arms off, because Stone's one of the most like generous like musicians I've ever met. He truly is just, he's dedicated to lifting people around him up and elevating things that he likes. He's just a really true person. I can't find like a better way of describing him. He's absolutely great, and he's helped us so much. It's like having a shiny Pokemon card. He's just such a force to be reckoned with. He's so well respected, and he can just go and get things. If he wants to help us out. Oh, okay, yeah, I've got big radio station in Seattle. I'll go in and do an interview, and then I'll mention your guy's name, and he's just more than happy to use his fame and visibility to lift other people up, which is just amazing. I feel like we won the lottery. We're all massive Pearl Jam fans. Like Versus for me, and like the self-titled one. That's the one with the avocado on the front, and obviously 10 and stuff.
Yeah,
it's just like they're just like baked into popular culture. It can be easy to not acknowledge like how important a band Pearl Jam are, and like how important Stone's role in that like part of musical history is. So to just even have a degree of separation away from that is just it's hard to really process or quantify with words. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're pinching ourselves, you know, and it seems like they're really happy to be working with us as well. So it's just this, you know, rare unity and
Mm.
consensus that, you know, you don't always find in life, especially in the fucking music industry. So to get that is it's just incredible, and they've been so supportive and almost like quite adamant about like Tigercub just taking the reins and taking autonomy over our own like creative output and just being like, no, whatever you guys think is good is probably good because you're the fucking band, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And that I think that really gave us a boost of confidence and like maybe the will and the mandate to be more experimental, um going into this record, you know, because there can be elements of like, you know, you can end up becoming a little bit contrived and maybe doing things because you want to get popular rather than doing things because you think it's fucking rad, you know. So it's really good to have like a mentor, especially during the, you know, the creative process where you're pulling tracks together and you're picking from a large playlist of demos and stuff, and you're trying to really get to the core of like what this album is and what it's going to be and what it should be. So to have someone like Stone just being like, hey man, I think this weird track that you've got here is way better, let's do that because it's cooler, rather than like, well, you know, this might stream better at Spotify, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
just having someone coaching you and reminding you that you're an artist and you're not just like AI software that's trying to like, you know, write the perfect fucking viral hit.
Mm.
So
So
yeah,
what's it like to tour with Clutch?
great. They're like god tier stoners,
Yeah.
like the absolute creme de la creme. Really, really nice guys. So dedicated,
Mm-hmm.
so dedicated to like the pursuit of like not perfection, but just they take fucking being a really good band so seriously, and they're just they play a lot on tour. They
Mm-hmm.
just like in the day, they're just always playing. So what would happen is like, you know, we'd have to like share a dressing room when we were out in the States with the main support band I Hate God. Because and we didn't mind this of course, but they would have their own dressing rooms just so they could each individually just be fucking like warming up and playing all day. So you'd get into the fucking roll into the venue around 3ish or whatever, you'd load in, and then of course Clutch soundcheck at 20 past 4 in the
Of course
afternoon.
they do.
Of course you do, right? That's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And then from then on, they're just that you can just hear this like dull rumble of them each in their own rooms, just playing, you know, and just staying on top of their chops. And then the fuckers go on stage and do like a 2 hour set on top of that. So all in all, it's like 8 to 10 hours worth of playing they're doing a day on tour, and they're doing this like fucking crazy touring schedule as well. It's not like, you know, just weekends and then back to the family. They're
Yeah.
fucking out in the trenches, like playing fucking Nebraska on a Tuesday night, you know, and then going to fucking Fargo on the Wednesday or whatever. So that was for us. We were like, holy shit, man, this is like different gravy. Um, so that was, you know, that was really, really educational for us. Clutch, they're the nicest guys. They couldn't be
Mm-hmm.
nicer. Um, and playing to their crowds, especially in the States, in like, you know, Arizona and shit, like where you're getting on for like the sort of more metally kind of biker crowds, we really did start to realize like how much closer we sound to Coldplay rather than like Clutch or I Hate God. We're like, Jesus Christ, we thought we were quite heavy, but we're not. We're basically McFly in this situation. So that was kind of like that. I think that roughed us up a bit. Um, we did we on that particular tour that we did with Clutch and I Hate God in the States, we actually it worked for us because we served as this like hyper palatable alternative to I Hate God, who I don't know if you're familiar with their songs and stuff, but
Vaguely.
okay, well, as a sonic reference, you know, they're kind of close to that. It's like just punk, maybe like a cross between like the Germs and Sabbath
Mm.
with, but more, yeah, but more fucking fucked. And you know, Jimmy Bauer from Down is the guitarist in that group as well, which is pretty crazy. He's a pretty crazy guy. Um, so yeah, we served as like a more palatable alternative, I think, for
Mhm.
Clutch fans to I Hate God, because it was very split down the middle. You know, you'd have some dudes in like biker jackets, like just flipping the bird to us the whole set, and then you know you'd have other people that'd be like, we hated that middle band, you know, because he's not like singing or anything like that. So that really helped us. This said, though, I think that was a really formative experience for us as a band, and it made us want to be heavier
Mm.
and want to be um, weirder, I guess.
Mhm.
Hard to say, but yeah, massively transformative for us as a band. That first American tour with Clutch. So thanks, Clutch. We're so grateful to them.
Yeah, because it was kind of the same. I've only seen you when you opened for Clutch, and it was the same when you guys had was it Green Lung in between you guys in the
Yeah,
UK? It's like it's kind of the
yeah,
same sort of thing there, where they were a bit heavier and stuff like that. But like again, like it kind of works because like Clutch are such chameleons as a band. Like
yeah,
you could put them
totally.
on a hardcore bill, or you could put them on a metal bill, or like
Yeah,
Sabbath tribute bill, or what have you.
so true. Yeah, they are. You're absolutely bang on. Um, yeah. So were you at the was it the ABC in Glasgow? I'm trying to think. Or was it just
No,
U2, wasn't it?
I stay in the Midlands, but I went up to Newcastle to see that show. And then because I stay in the Midlands, it's like, well, I'm obviously going to come see them in Birmingham as well. And my
Yeah.
friend, my friends had told me about you guys and like you need to see Tigercub. I was like, right, okay. And then Wash, I was like, yeah, I'm into this sort of
Oh
thing. So
man,
like,
thank you. I'm glad you came to the shows. I'm glad you came early as well. I mean, that fucking tour was grueling for us, man.
mm,
We were pretty cooked. And first to free in the UK and Europe is very different to first to free in the US. So yeah, man, we were fucking pickled. We were completely fucked. Because we'd done like 4 weeks in the States before that Clutch run, so we were out for like I think it was 9 weeks in total. So shit got weird, man. It was really swimmy. Yeah, doing a
so
gig every day.
yeah. So last question. You've obviously got this big UK tour scheduled for later in the year, but what else does this year have in store for the band?
So the majority of our team now, you know, thanks to Loose Groove Records and stuff, is situated in America, and Tigercub seems to be translating well in America in a way that we didn't quite foresee. So there's going to be a lot of playing in America. So we've got a US tour coming up. I'm not sure when this is going to come out, but it will be or will have been in May June 23, and then we've got a bunch of US festivals that we're playing all around the states with fucking great bands like Queens and stuff and Deftones and Incubus and all of that. So we're going to do that, and then we'll tour the UK in October November 23. Um, there's there's stuff there's offers getting thrown out to us to support bands and stuff like that, but at this moment in time, it's just not confirmed yet, so I can't really say. But
Mhm.
yeah, I would to anyone listening to this, I would expect us to be kind of everywhere across the summer. It's a pretty brutal touring schedule that we're starting to get lined up at the minute. Yeah,
All right. Well, we'll catch you next time.
nice. Cheers, Russ.